Second sexual first presented.
All right, does anybody from the committee that's here right now have any questions for Tyler? Scott?
No.
Tom? Does anybody in the Zoom audience want to speak or have any questions for Tyler on this? Mayor Blazer?
Tyler, this, I guess, to realize the importance of this, this should have been done a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
and it's been kicked down the road a little bit?
from my understanding, this, well, just from the hardware itself, it's been outdated for at least a year or past its, where it should have been. So the software, from what my understanding is also out of date, end of license by a couple of years, yeah.
So I just wanted the committee to realize the importance or how imperative it is, because once it goes down, our heating and cooling system.
We wouldn't be able to make any changes. It would still function, from my understanding. It would still function with what we have scheduled now. But if there was anything that we needed to change, or if there was any of the outlying areas that had issues, we wouldn't be able to recognize them or know what was going on.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Tyler? I'll make a motion to approve the request for complete control to upgrade the software hardware package to the city's HVAC system.
I'll second.
Yeah, the first agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. Is there any other further discussion on this item?
This is Tim here. Who made the motion? Who made the second, please? I'm getting some feedback here.
Okay, Alderperson Coth made the motion, and Alderperson Kellogg seconded the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, if it's okay, I would like to amend my motion if Scott would still be amicable to holding his motion for a cost not to exceed $25,381. Scott, you still do second?
No problem with me.
Okay.
Second.
And Tim, did you catch that amendment? Tim?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Item number 3 is consider a special event application including street closure, noise variance, vending, and alcohol license premise extension onto a public street and right-of-way, Johnson Street between 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue South for Amy Friday, doing business as Square Bar located at 210 Johnson Street for a customer appreciation celebration
You are
event.
muted.
For a customer appreciation celebration event held on Saturday, August 29th, from 12 p.m. noon to 12 a.m. midnight. I'm assuming nobody from the Square Bar is here or on Zoom. Mayor?
I think the police chief might have comments.
Chief Blevins?
Yeah, I'm here. You can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we were discussing this, Jennifer and Sue and I, and we don't have an issue with them having the event. The only issue and concern that I have was a description of the fact that they were going to have free beer in the tent, and I am against that and think that that is not a good idea.
Irma, don't know if you're still talking. It sounds like you might have cut out.
Yeah, I'm still here, but no, I'm just saying that I don't think that free alcohol at these events is a good idea unless it's some kind of sample-sized alcohol. That's really the issue I have with this, so I'm done talking.
Okay. There's concern on if they're going to have free alcohol for consumption. There was also another concern that was brought up, Alderperson Rayholm.
Oops. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and didn't catch all of what the chief was saying there, but a concern I had is that, which caught my eye right away, is that that's the same day that the farmer's market is going to be taking place. I'm not sure off the top of my head what time that starts and ends, the farmer's market, but this has a midnight, or a noon to midnight time frame, and I don't know if that midnight meant, or the noon meant,
You are muted.
if noon meant that that's when the event was going to start, or if that's when
You
the
are
setup was
unmuted.
going to take place, because it's proposed to have a tent in the street. And I guess I also have a question on who do they go through to get the okay and whatever to put the tent up in the street? Tents have been in the street in the past, but it's also the ones that come to mind of mine have taken place on Sunday or Monday when the other businesses are closed. If this street's to be closed and First Avenue's closed for part of that day, we're actually cutting off or somewhat of the through traffic for possibly stores that would be open, such as the flooring store. So it should, without, I guess, them there, I think this might be worthwhile to hold off on a month or something, because I think there's other questions to look at for this, that with the market going on that same day, and, I've stated my thoughts on that in the past, but parking was talked about what could be done, and that included parking on that street. It includes parking in that parking lot, which is back to the cities now, in back of the Tribune Building. Obviously, there is an entrance off of Goggin Street, but they won't be able to, as I understand it, at least, or think how it'd be drawn there, traffic won't be able to get in and out of the parking from Johnson Street. So it'd just be on Goggin Street to use that parking lot there. And obviously, the Centralia Center isn't open that day unless there's something special going on. But that's one of the problems with Thursday's parking, is that in the past, what's happened, a lot of people from the farmer's market have parked in the Centralia Center. Saturdays, there won't be people there unless something special is going on at the Centralia Center. But so parking actually becomes more restricted by closing that street. So to me, I think there's other questions to answer than just giving an okay this evening. And also that it's a customer celebration party, and to close the street off, I think, to make sure, is that it would be a public event, not just not just for their customer type of thing of that. It'd have to be open to the public. But I think there's other questions to look at to get resolved, and they're talking about the end of August, that to get some of these questions answered, a delay of a month wouldn't be the worst that I know of that I can think of anyway. So
I would agree with you there, Tom. Scott, do you got anything?
No, I agree. I would be concerned, like the chief mentioned, free beer, the consumption of that, and then do you have who's going to monitor the crowd and some problems that could occur. And also, I guess I agree with Tom, if they even delayed between, rather than noon to midnight, maybe 2 to midnight, does it have to be, that long? So I think postponing it, like it was mentioned, it isn't until August. So there's plenty of time to rectify or come back to the Common Council with some changes.
Jennifer?
This is Jennifer. So it is open to the public, just so you know, Tom. It's not a closed event. And also, it is my understanding that they're starting at noon, so there would have to be set up before that. And what was the other thing you asked me? I just drew a blank. What were your other concerns?
And I think with that, whatever time I guess they'd set up,
Right.
is that that street would that street would have to be closed when the farmer's market closed off First Avenue. I mean, that all have to be done in conjunction, because people going to the farmer's market would be parking on that street otherwise. So the street could be filled with cars when they wanted to start setting up their tent and whatever else that they'd be setting up. So I just think there's questions that would have to be answered for logistics of it, and I think other questions that have been raised with the free beer and that type of stuff, and policing and that of it, so.
I agree I think the parking too. I mean, how are they going to get into the parking area, which is west of Centralia's, west of the Tribune Building, if that street's going to be blocked out? Yeah. I know, but how are they going to do that? Make sure they can do it right, and so there's a number of issues that can be cleared up within a month.
I would agree. Is there anybody that's on Zoom that has anything to say on this at this time?
Yeah, Tad Kubaschak, committee member.
Go ahead, Thad.
I guess the logistics, you guys bring up a good point about logistics as far as the farmer's market, but I think one thing that we also got to identify is like what Chief Levins kind of spoke about. And the question is, can you serve free beer? And I don't know if you can in terms of how is it, because you need to have a server, you need to have a bartender. So is their intention to actually just set up a keg or a couple kegs, and then once the kegs dry out, then that's when we don't have any more beer left anymore? But then if that's the case where it's a self-serve keg, you can't do that. It needs to be a point of sale transaction. So I think that's what the chief was kind of alluding to, and that really needs to be hammered down, because that doesn't have anything local control. It's the Department of Revenue and alcohol licensing that has to do with that.
That's a good point, Thad. Thank you.
This is Sue. So, yes, it's my understanding they were going to have try to have some type of a cover charge, and they still would have servers and such. But I agree, especially since it would be in public right of way, that we could definitely prescribe that there be no free alcohol, even though, as I said, there's probably would be a cover charge. And I had some more questions of them, but since they're not here, it's difficult to get those answered. So I would agree to hold this. I think that should be held over.
Tyler, is there anyone on the call that is not a staff member? Because I did send an email to them inviting them to join, but I did tell them they would be muted unless they were invited to speak. So is there anyone that you can see that's
Trying to get on the drop from the square bar.
Oh, there we go. Can you state your name again, please?
Oh, I think they dropped off. Oh, they're here.
Can you state your name again, please?
Tyler, do we still have Rob from the Square Bar with us?
We have a line that I don't know, 715, the last three digits is 3733. They're still on the line, and they have been unmuted, so not sure.
Rob from the Square Bar, are you with us?
Hello, yes I am.
Okay.
All right. Rob, have you heard the previous conversations and the concerns about the special event application? Rob, were you listening to the previous conversation regarding the special event application for your establishment?
Yes, I have. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Are you hearing us okay?
Yes, I can now. I've heard the conversation. I
Okay,
do have answers to every question that was raised.
okay, if, I'll give you some time here, go ahead and, if you want to go ahead and answer those questions for the committee, have at.
Well, we want to have a customer appreciation day down here. Actually, our planning was before the farmer's market was moved down here permanent. I'll say that the Saturday conflict right now is something that was not an issue when we planned it, but it's definitely something we can work around. As far as free beer, we're gonna have licensed bartenders. We'll have the fenced-in area with IDs checked. We're gonna do a wristband. There'll be no difference in the checking here than we do in the bar every day we're open. We have contacted a tent company about the tents outside. We have done a lot of homework on this already. I do realize that now with the farmers market down here on Saturdays, it raises a conflict, but it's nothing that we can't work around as far as on our end. The times can be changed, but there's many things we can change about this. You know, years ago there used to be a Labor Day party used to be here in front of the square bar, and that ended so that they could go to Robinson Park. Well, that ended a couple of years ago, and I want to get ready here to have a decent sized Labor Day party here in the near future. If not this year, next year. It's kind of a practice run right here for what we want to do. And I mean, we're willing to work with anybody, whatever we have to do to have this party here.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Tom, did you want to speak? Scott?
No, I think we're in favor of it, but just with these adjustments, and we could talk about it next month. But it seems like it's amicable, we can work out, they can work out something with the city, and it should work out. So,
Chief Blevins, are you still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Chief, did you hear Rob's comments about the free beer where they will have a licensed bartender controlling that, and they will be running IDs and that it will be tended to?
My next question is, are we setting limits, like everybody gets 2 beers? Because it's still free beer, and you can have an awful lot of loyal customers if you get enough free beer, that's for sure.
I can, and as far as and I know what you're getting at, Chief Blevins, I do. I can provide pub pilots that night at my cost for the entire evening. From whatever time you want them to start to whatever time you want them to finish, I will get everyone home safely and their vehicle without them driving.
That is certainly admirable of you to again, if you advertise free beer, I can only envision the size of the crowd that you're going to get.
I am not advertising anything. This is wristband, and it's my customer appreciation night, yet we are not going to turn away anyone that comes. In order for you to know about this, you're going to have to be a customer of the Square Bar. I'm not putting an advertisement anywhere out there. Not Saloons and Spoons, not the paper, not the radio, anywhere. And anyone is welcome to come. They are welcome to open to the public. But you're going to know about it because you're my customer. I'm not looking for that big of a turnout. I'm really not. We're a lone goose over here. We're by our own lonesome over here. We don't get a lot of walking traffic. We don't get a lot of people from across the ridge. They don't come over here. We're a small country bar in the middle of the city.
Alderperson Kubitschek, do you have any questions on this or comments?
Nothing further. Thank you, Chairperson.
Does anyone else on Zoom have any further questions or comments? Alderperson Rayholm, you want to speak?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Sue. Did you contact all of the neighbors about the street closing and the
Yes,
hours?
yeah.
And what did they say?
No problem at all. We delivered letters to them. No problem at all.
Okay. And you said, now you're saying that this isn't really a public event, but
No, it is a public event. But I'm not gonna advertise it. I'm not gonna put it out there so that it's free beer at the square bar, because it's open to the public. It's open to my customers, and it's open to the public. Anybody that walks in that day, it's not a problem. I'm not gonna put it out there as, hey, it's Saloons and Spoons, free beer at the square bar. That's not the idea here. The idea is to get our feet wet and having a little outing here, being able to block off the street and see what we need and possibly work on it in the future. That's what we're after.
okay. And originally this request was about a wedding reception?
That's gonna happen there too. Well, just the wedding. It's gonna happen out here outside that day, one way or another. We're gonna do it on the sidewalk, but we like to be able to have two people. And like I said, since Amy and I bought the bar here, we've talked about having this Labor Day celebration back here again. And this is one step towards that. So what way we look at it. Figure out what we need, what works best, work on it. Something we want to do every year, honestly. Every year.
Okay, but the whole idea of the special event, and allowing and opening up our public right-of-ways and streets and sidewalks is for basically public events, community events, not necessarily, private or, but, I just want to make that point that generally speaking, when we do this, it's for events that are open to the public and are basically community events.
Well, how would you recommend that we advertise this then to keep it a community event? I mean,
well, I'm just saying, well, right, I understand. I understand you want to kind of make it not too big, but you are requesting, to use the public way. So generally, we then, have a public purpose somewhat for it. So, but I just wanted to ask those few questions. So, you will have your own security or bouncers or people that are going to make sure that there's some order.
In order to, you're going to have to have an ID in order to enter the fenced-in area where this is going to happen.
And then once we look at the size of that area, you understand that you probably will be told you can only have so many people, in that area.
Yep. Yes.
Or under that tent, right?
Yes. Yes, and still willing to do it. We need to move on here.
Right. And then did you say you would have a cover charge? I thought I saw that somewhere, or not?
What do we need to do? Well, and you know what? I'm asking this because you're the city attorney, and what's the best way? I mean, you've done this before, I have not. That's why I'm asking.
No, I don't believe we've done this before, where we have allowed free beer allowed someone to have free beer out in the and expanding their alcohol premises. So
would we be better off to charge $2 a beer and do this? Because that's not a problem either. I think that would be preferable.
I think that would be preferable, that there is some type of a charge.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about it. I agree.
Right.
So that's not a problem. We can do that too. Not a problem. And that it is preferable. She's smart. That's, I mean.
So with the farmer's market, let's say that I don't know, does that go till noon usually on Saturdays, or is that later?
Yes. That was another move out there.
So if we wanted you to start a little later in the afternoon to That would be okay?
Not a problem at all. Not a
Okay.
problem.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Before that exchange, I had Alderperson Rayholm indicate he wanted to speak.
I assume are you still going to hold it over, or that's the way the direction was going? I think there's questions, still to be answered, and I think, as a private celebration, it is a public celebration, but it's with this bar. So I think, and I think of putting the tent up, obviously, tents have been put up in that street before, so, and I know that, but it'd be, holes, could the same holes that were used before be used again? Or new holes that'd be tapped in, they gotta be filled back in then too. So, but there have been tents out there before on that street, but again, it's the it's the closing of the street, it's closing of that entrance to the parking lot. It's happening, at least the time frame that's here now, it can be changed, but we don't know what that is, what the time frame could be changed to, because there still has to be a setup period to set the stuff up and that. So I think there's probably several questions to be answered at another meeting. And I think we're also getting to a point that with these street closures that are coming up, that it could be time, the time may have come that actually we need a policy of what we allow for closure of streets that's going to be allowed. Again, from what I said with other events is that there are other places that some of these things could be held with that would be without the closure of the streets, actually places that would have more parking and everything. So I just think there's more to look at, more questions to get answered than we have this evening. And I hope we just don't say it'll start later without a time frame on that. And that's why I think it's there should be another meeting on this to clarify some of this, to get it down on paper of what it's going to be.
Rob, are you still there? If you're hearing us, Rob, I don't think anyone here is necessarily against this event, but as Alderperson Rayholm indicated, there's just some things that we would like to iron out for details. So as a committee, we just probably take another look at this in June and make sure everything for the questions is worked out, and then have a plan for everything that needs to be taken care of, that it is taken care of before it goes on to the full council, if that makes sense to you.
It does. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, I heard some about the talk of the tents and the patching of the road, which AC and Sons Party Tent Rental in Wausau is who we have for the tent, and they plug the road before they leave. We have, it will be done that night when the tents are done. It's the same as Encourage did when they used to have their tents out here for their meal. I mean, they pull the tent down, they patch the road. You get your diggers hotlines in here, and they mark everything beforehand. And it doesn't take them long to set up, and they're done in the same night and gone. This is something we really want to have. I mean, if anybody that can help me, any information. June is about the latest we could wait till in order, or I have part of the party that's going to go somewhere else. We're still wanting, you mentioned the wedding, and that is part of it. These people grew up in this place, but we still want to have the party on that day. This is my party on that day. That's what this is what I want. If we could get it done by June, it'd be great. And I could let Rick and Andrew know what's going on too. And we're all willing to work whatever we need to do. Something has to happen downtown Rapids. this summer, especially now. I mean, you're looking at not having a 4th of July celebration, the water ski tournament's done, the carnival's gone through the summer. What's going to happen here in this town? I mean, to me, this is more important now than it ever has. I'm hoping my phone number, 715-459-3733. Anybody that can help us get this done, we'd appreciate it. It really needs to be done.
All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good. On that, I will make a motion to hold this item over until our June Property and Finance Committee meeting, until we can work with Mr. Jinsky and make sure that we have everything covered, and some of the concerns that were discussed here tonight, we have a plan of action in place for that.
I'll second. That's Scott.
All right, we have a motion by Chairperson Koth and a second by Alderperson Kellogg. Is there any further discussion on this item from anybody here in the council chambers? Is there any further discussion on this item from anybody on our Zoom audience?
Yeah, real quick, Thad Kubishak here. Do we need an amended application to reflect the time changes and or other information that needs to be updated on that application? Because we're actually approving the application that goes along with the event that's happening.
Thad, the city clerk has just said that we will amend the application for anything that is amended between now and then. Does that answer your question, Alderperson Kubishak?
That's sufficient for me. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from anyone in the Zoom audience? Hearing no further discussion, we have a motion on the floor to hold the item over for 1 month till we take care of some of the loose ends. Committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, our next item is consider for approval a Class A liquor license and a Class B beer license for Cherie, Asha Incorporated, Manal Patel, agent, doing as GR8 store, premises located at 3553 8th Street South. Jennifer?
I would like to make one correction. We have the name of the agent on here. It's incorrect. It's not Monal, it's Arpan Patel. So if the minutes could reflect that, that'd be great. This is the purchase of, this company purchased the BP on 8th Street at 2 Mile. So they are asking for the liquor license for that purchase. This is not a renewal. This is for the current license period.
Okay, does anyone in the council chambers have anything to say on this item? Does anyone in the Zoom audience wish to speak on this item?
Tim Starcy. Jennifer, if you could send me that change in agent name, I'll incorporate it into the minutes. Thank you.
I will, thank you.
Does anyone else in the Zoom audience wish to speak on this item? Attorney Hewitt, did you have anything to say on this item? Okay, since this is just a transfer of ownership of a liquor license due to a purchasing, I have no problem to approve the Class A liquor and Class A beer license application for, I'm sorry, what was the name of that person again?
Agent is Arpan Patel.
For Arpan Patel for the GR8 store for the premises located at 3553 8th Street South.
And I apologize, this is Alex Hewitt, sir. I do appreciate the approval, and it appears that I just failed to unmute my phone on this one. But if the committee has any other questions, we would be happy to answer them. We do appreciate the approval.
On that, does anyone here have any questions for Attorney Hewitt on this license? Does anyone in the Zoom audience have any questions for Attorney Hewitt?
I'll second your motion.
All right. We have a motion and second on the floor to approve. Is there any further discussion on this item from anyone in the Zoom audience? Anybody here? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 5 is consider for approval a Class B liquor and a Class B beer license application for the Buck Rub of Wisconsin Rapids LLC. Thomas Mitchell, agent, doing business as the Buck Rub for the premises located at 1511 First Street North. Jennifer?
This application is due to a change in the type of business. It's going from a sole proprietor to an LLC.
Based on the status of the change of ownership from full proprietor to LLC, I have no problem to make a motion to approve the Class B liquor and Class B beer license application for the Buck Rub of Wisconsin Rapids LLC, Thomas Mitchell, agent, for the premises at 1511 First Street South.
I'll second.
Is there anybody here in the council chambers that has anything to say on this? Anybody in the Zoom audience have anything to say on this? Hearing no further discussion, the committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 6 is initial review of alcohol license renewals. We had a kind of hefty packet of them. There were 2 that have obligations, correct?
That is correct.
I would make a motion to approve the alcohol license renewals with 2 that are in the stack held until their obligations are met.
I'll second.
Does anyone in the Zoom audience have anything to say on that?
This is Sue. I think this is just the initial review. And there might be more. I just got some personal property taxes for other years, some delinquencies. Oh, and now my dog decided to start barking. So I think, right, Jennifer, isn't the intent to have them approved at the next, in the June meeting?
That's correct. This is the initial review. We do have 12 that have not turned in their paperwork yet that we'll be adding to that stack. But there were 2 that had, according to our finance department, 2 that had outstanding obligations. Does that answer your question?
Right. So they wouldn't be approving issuing the license tonight. You would want them to come back at the next meeting and do that, right?
Correct.
I'll rescind my motion then, since we're not going to approve these till June.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
So Sue, there's no motion to be made on this, is that correct?
That's right. They're just looking through them and, right.
Okay. Thanks.
And an opportunity for people to realize that they need to get their things paid or information to us, and otherwise they're probably going to be denied at the next meeting. So, right.
All right, so we will take no action on item number 7. With that, we will move on to item number 8, which is consider a resolution to amend the 2020 budget.
Nope.
I'm sorry, hold on, Tim. I
Nope.
was going to skip 6. I need to do 7. Okay. Which it's the beverage operator licenses renewals. We have 1 with an outstanding obligation, so I would make a motion to approve the beverage operator licenses and the 1 the person that has an outstanding obligation will have their license renewed after their obligation has been fulfilled.
I'll second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have both renewals and also new applicants. You have two stacks. So one is brand new applications, and the other one is renewal. So you have two items.
All right. So I guess we'll do the renewals first. That's the one that had the obligation. Does anyone have anything to say about the renewals? Anyone in the Zoom audience? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Motion to approve the renewals. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? That should cover the renewals.
Chairperson, before we move on, who made I did not get the motion and the second on that last approval of the beverage operator's license.
For the renewals, I made the motion to approve, and Alderperson Kellogg second.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We had, on the new ones, it looks like nobody was denied, so I will make a motion to approve the new beverage operator licenses.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the new applications. Any further discussion? Anyone from Zoom? Hearing no other discussion, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Now we'll move on to item number 8, which is considered a resolution to amend the 2020 budget. Tim?
Yes. Okay. If you alderpersons recall, this is an annual carry forward resolution that we do each and every year for the accounts that are either grant driven or replacement accounts where we put X amount of dollars each year into a budget to fund future replacements or unfunded or unfinished projects at the end of the year. So what we do is that we gather these costs and then carry them forward and put them in a resolution for appropriation in the next year's budget. It's up to you how you want me to go through this. I could go through each one and explain it, or if you have specific questions on it. But basically, it's any of the outlay accounts that were unexpended that go forward. One thing I want to point out in the resolution is that we set kind of some parameters as to the authority approval to spend a certain amount of these funds, and a lot of the carryover funds, that being the outlay and replacement accounts, that we have an expenditures less than $2,500 that's appropriate in this resolution. Department head has the authority to make that expenditure. If the expenditure is more than $2,500 but less than $10,000, the department has to approve it, and then the mayor has to approve it. Anything over $10,000 would have to come back to the finance committee for approval. This is consistent with the previous year's resolutions, but if you want to make changes to that, you can. But that's kind of how we put some controls and parameters around the use of these carry forward outlay funds. But if you have any specific questions on any one of these, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I can go through them one by one, but it's up to you.
Go ahead, Scott.
I really don't have a question, but I have more of a comment. Under
Okay.
grants and donations, we have Rapids Rediscover. That's a program that's been approved by two councils. The first council was about 8 years ago, and the next council was about 3 years ago. And we're not getting traction, and it kind of bothers me because what it is, for people that may not be familiar with it, is that it's funds set aside to promote more building of homes within the city. Sometimes we have burned out homes, substandard housing, and it just deteriorates the city, and it doesn't give us that tax base. And so both councils agreed to this, and I talked to Kyle Kearns and he's familiar with the program he has in Stevens Point. And this program has been very successful in other cities like Richfield, Minnesota, and others. So I would like to see some traction sometime. I know Adam, before he left, he told me of 5 lots he thought were pertinent, and I drove past each, and we had a discussion about them. But my suggestion is maybe a subgroup working with Kyle Kearns to get together, maybe some realtors or bankers, or to see if we could develop one resident this year and get this program underway, because, again, it develops our tax base. It takes care of substandard homes that are really poor, and tear downs the homes around them in the sense of quality. So maybe, I don't know if Mayor, if you could talk to Kyle Kearns, and I'd be happy to be on that subgroup just to get one going this year. I think it would be really advantageous for the community. But I just noticed that where $39,256 is allocated, and maybe we can use it to some good housing programs in Wisconsin Rapids. That's it.
Alderperson Kubitschek, did you have anything on this budget amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I don't see anything of concern at this point. Thank you.
All right. So anyone have any questions directly for Tim on the budget amendment? Anyone in the Zoom audience have any questions for Tim? Hearing nothing for questions, I will make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 1 for 2020.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion from anyone in the council chambers? Any further discussion from anyone on Zoom? Hearing no further discussion, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alderperson Kubitschek, were you voting yea or nay on this?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't hit my mute button or unmute button. I voted in the affirmative.
Okay. So we have a 3 ayes, 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 9 is audit of the bills. Tim?
Oh, yeah, if you have any questions on any specific bill, just let me know.
Does anyone have any questions for Tim on the bills? Anyone in the council chambers? Scott?
I was just curious, check number 3412, it deals with the Wisconsin City Band. Is that an annual, we give $200 to the band? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, historically, the city has contributed towards the band. I believe it's in past finance agendas that it's come forward, and I think it's been funded out of community benefit to a certain extent. So it's something that's consistent with the past. It's been kind of, to be honest, been off and on, but the city has shown support for the city band in the past, and I do believe this is a contribution to support the 2020 concert.
All right.
Alderperson Kubitschek, did you have any questions for on the bills?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. No, I do not have any questions.
I have one.
Go ahead, Alderperson Keller.
Check number 3538, it talks about UV lighting. Where's that going in? Where's that?
Okay, is that funded to a 201 account? I don't have this check in front of me, but I know that we're installing UV lighting, new UV lighting at the Centralia Center. and that will actually, one is the replacement of the bulbs that were initially installed are very expensive, and this is an initiative to, obviously put more energy efficient bulbs over there, and will actually save us some replacement costs in the future.
I'm on the Water and Light Commission representing the city, and I noticed that they will go out and work with different businesses to help cut down their use of electricity with lighting. Have we had the Water and Light come here? I don't know. But have we had the Water and Light come here to the City Hall and the garage and other places to help look at our lighting and maybe reduce the cost for electricity?
Mm-hmm. Right, and also I do believe if that's, I'm trying to pull up the list, 'cause, here we go. Just give me a second here. 35, 38, sorry. Yeah, so that is, and also we'll apply for for UV lighting. Well, actually, you might be thinking about, let's see, what was the check number on that? Can you give me that again?
3538.
Okay, I'm sorry. Because I know we're doing two simultaneous projects. We're replacing some lighting fixtures over at Centralia Center. I just pull up the list. And that we are, and then we're applying for a Focus on Energy grant. The check you're referring to, and I apologize, is for the UV lighting over at the wastewater treatment plant that helps in the process of disinfecting the whole process, the treatment of water.
All right. Have we had the Water and Light representative come over to the city and help us? I mean, they did this at the library, and they cut quite a bit of cost for electricity. And I noticed when I see the minutes of their meetings, they go out to like 4 or 5 plants a month and show how they could reduce the cost. And have we had them come to the city hall, the garage, and other city facilities?
I can't answer that question. I know years ago we did, as far as the whole city hall renovation, we did upgrade the lighting that we had there. But as far as lately, I can't answer that question. Obviously, I could reach out to the appropriate personnel if you would like an answer on that. If we've had kind of Water and Light come over and assess some of our lighting needs at our facilities,
Yeah.
certainly do that.
I like that. I mean, at least that's to entertain the idea. It's free for the city, and it might reduce some costs ultimately, and let's entertain the idea. If we haven't, and maybe we have for all I know, but they did quite a bit at the library, and they saved quite a bit of money as a result, and these other companies too.
I will definitely reach out to the appropriate personnel at the city and have them get in contact with you.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions in the council chambers on the bills? Any questions in the Zoom audience on the bills? Hearing none, I will make a motion to pay check numbers 3322 to 3746.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second on the floor. Is there any discussion from anyone on Zoom? Any discussion from anyone in the council chambers? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'm sorry, I'm voting in the affirmative. I apologize again.
That's okay, Alderperson Kubitschek. All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. We'll set our next meeting date here. Looking at the calendar, our first Tuesday in June is June 2nd. Would everybody in the committee be okay with meeting on that day? Scott, Thad, would June 2nd work for you?
I'll make it work. What time are you talking about?
Do you guys want to start a little early so we don't run into Public Works?
Sure.
Would 4:30 be okay with you, Thad?
I could make it at 4:30. Yep.
All right, so our next meeting, we will set for Tuesday, June 2nd at 4:30 PM. All right, we're done with that. In item number 11 here, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, para 1, para E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. On that, I will make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Alderperson Koth votes aye.
Kellogg, aye.
Alderperson Kubitschek.
Aye.
All right, at that, we are now in closed session. I will pause for a moment so we can secure our electronic equipment, close the doors to our council chamber, and anybody that's not supposed to be here for closed session could excuse themselves.